All right. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Brian Parnell. My company is Virtual Pros. I'm the founder and CEO of Virtual Pros. We are a revenue growth partner for the med spa industry. And we help med spas to become more profitable and help them with automation systems blended with human intelligence as well. So today is my guest, Ernest Papadoyianis. Did I say that right? Sorry, you correct me again.
Close. Papadoyianis.
Papadoyianis, sorry about that. Ernest here is a amazing entrepreneur. He has built and led over 20 companies in different industries, and now he is taking on the med spa industry in a different, unique fashion that's for women's health, which I thought was very interesting. So maybe talk a little bit as we start this, Ernest, kind of talk about why you decided to get in the med spa industry and what's your unique take on this with women's health?
Yeah, so I've been involved in functional medicine, the wellness industry for about 20 years, and I saw the boom down here, particularly in South Florida, going back, probably 10 years ago, with the boom of med spas starting to pop up, and I wanted to get involved in the industry. I thought it was a good business model, but really to open up another med spa without any clear differentiator from anybody else, for me, I'm always looking for what the differentiators are. What's going to make someone come here rather than there?
Right.
And telling somebody you can do the business, you're going to do it better. Yeah, everybody says that. So it's really not what the investment community or anybody would say is a clear differentiator. So as I got into it, I really dove into the statistics and the business analysis and attended trade shows. I really saw such a dominance on the women's side in many different categories. Dollars spent, percentage of patients, percentage loyalty, all of those factors. And as I looked into it, I said, geez, there's many clinics geared toward franchises geared toward men in the United States, but there's really nothing honed in on women's health and wellness. I mean, there are individual OBGYNs that do similar practices of what we do, but there's no national brand that women can, relate to as you would a Starbucks, with consistency as you go from Boston to Chicago to Dallas, to have that brand consistency. So that was something that resonated with me. I think that there's a real opportunity there to become a name brand with women.
Fantastic. So your company, Conquest Capital, you've been doing that now for a long time. What lessons have you brought from that business and kind of your experiences with Conquest Capital that you would bring to the med spa industry?
Yeah, well, I help young entrepreneurs and founders and even experienced ones raise capital, and I package them for investment, which is where my focus on clear differentiators comes from as well. Sure. But one of the things I would say, the experience-wise, that's so important is just the adaptability of a business and the founders and the team. And I think we saw a lot of that, during COVID. The people that adapted, take the restaurant industry, those that adapted, made money and stayed in business. Maybe they didn't flourish, but they were able to ride over that big speed bump of COVID. And the ones that didn't just kind of folded up the tent. So sometimes you go in with a particular business model, and then you got to zig and zag through it, and you got to really analyze what's worked and what hasn't worked, and whether you should substitute something in, because if you dig your heels in the sand, sometimes it's that's can be the kiss of death. So you got to be flexible and adaptable in the market, because the market changes too.
Right. No, absolutely. So what got you into what brought your interest into the wellness industry specifically, with functional medicine, wellness, et cetera? What kind of attracted you to that industry specifically?
Well, as I mentioned, I've been in it personally for about 20 years. I've done many of the modalities, from hormone replacement therapy to peptides, stem cell, PRP, a lot of those. But what attracted me the most to it is the fact that, and I won't get on the bandwagon, but I really feel like, Western medicine is so drug driven, pharmaceutical driven.
Absolutely.
It really addresses causation and symptoms, not causation. So when you go into the doctor with a particular ailment, I'll give you this medication to alleviate the symptom. Well, what has caused the symptom? What's the underlying reason that you're getting that symptom?
It's more like a Band-Aid, right?
Right. And so that's what functional medicine is all about. If you're getting liver spots, it's not because your skin's brown, it's because your liver's not functioning correctly. So, I mean, that's a very small example, but where I'm going was it's really an amazing line of medicine to really look at a root cause that can, in many cases, eliminate a problem or at least alleviate the problem from the source. And I love that. I'm not, again, I'll stay off my bandwagon about big pharma and pharmaceuticals and medications, but the reality is, the United States consumes about 70% of all world medications. So I think that says enough. You don't have to know anything more than that to know that we're way over medicated. And people get every drug, I don't care what it is. We've just recently seen it with Tylenol, even over the counter. Every drug that you take and put in your body has a side effect. What is safe is a relative term. So if you're taking a medication, there are going to be side effects from it. You may not see them now, but if you take it long enough, you will. So that's what I love about functional medicine.
Yeah, and it seems like that industry is so reactionary. It's to your point, not getting to the root of the issue first and preventative type, medicine. It's 95% reactionary and over medication for sure. And unfortunately, this country is definitely, hooked on the big pharma pills, so to speak. So yeah, getting natural medicine, be able to treat the root causes is definitely, something I'm a big believer in as well. So that being said, with women's focus specifically, can you talk more about what you have in mind to set apart your particular niche in the med spa industry with women's health?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it is educational component. I see that there's several different areas, but the educational component is really key because, and I'm not going to single out women because men, it's the same thing, but hormonally we're pretty simple creatures versus women are very complex, especially as they age. But even before they age, it's a complex hormone cycle. And most women really don't know what's going on. And I mean on a micro level. Yeah, on a macro level they do. They know they're going to go through menopause, et cetera. But on a micro level, they really don't know. And hormone balancing and being able, which is the foundation of wellness and health and longevity, is so important. And again, big pharma let in back in the 70s with giving women estrogen derived from horse urine. There was a lot of cancer caused from that. So a lot of the market on the women's side is tainted because that has stuck in the heads of especially women that are 40 plus that were there and during that time and heard that news. What was relayed to them. So those misconceptions have to be overcome. But it's a wonderful thing. I see having a great sex life as you age and a lot of energy and good sleep are just paramount to overall happiness in life. And I see one of the things I see is a lot of men on hormone therapy because guys love get on testosterone for the energy and fat loss and muscle. And of course, their libido goes way up. And if the girlfriend or wife is not balanced out and is not on par, then you have a real discrepancy there and an issue. So I think it's important for couples to be on the same page with that. And a lot of women are I hear them respond, I'm good. I'm 45. I'm okay. My doctor tells me I'm good, but and guys too. But and my question is, well, you're good for what? You're good for 45, a 50, 55-year-old man or woman? Yes. Do you really want to be hormonally good for a 55-year-old, or do you want to be hormonally good for a 35-year-old? I want to be good for a 35-year-old. So that's just part of that's part of it. The other part is really, as I said, the educational process and the sexual wellness. There's so many great therapies out there in terms of laser, radio frequency, for microneedling. I mean, there's many modalities out there to make sex better, to make your skin better, to make your general health and wellness better. So why not take advantage? It's, to me, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So with all the generic med spas that are opening, because there's so many that are opening, it seems like every day, to your point, how do you really carve out this separation of what you're talking about here with women's health, create the branding for that, and really capture the attention and the trust of women? Because I assume, when you're talking about sexual health, obviously it's a very private type of thing. So how do you build the trust up in the brand to be able to set yourself apart and to have them want to to come to your services?
It's a good question. So, again, all along those delicate issues played in my mind, like what would make women comfortable, because it's generally uncomfortable situations if there are stress urinary incontinence, dryness, or sexual issues, to create an environment that's completely barrier free, that women can express themselves. And in my mind, in the women I spoke to, one of the first layers of that is really separating out the men in the waiting room and the staff. And yes, there are male OBGYNs that women go to, but overall, it creates a more conducive environment for women to feel comfortable, because there's other women that are experiencing the same problems. And a man experiencing ED while it's sexually related, and a woman experiencing dryness or lack of libido is not the same thing. They're both
Right.
sexual dysfunction, but it's not the same. So we want to create something that creates an environment that breaks down that barrier and says, hey, we all age. Nothing wrong with it. We're all going to have issues as we age. It's just, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. There's nothing to not fix. And, why not fix it? Why go on with these issues when you can fix it?
Right.
And you want to be able to create, getting to your point, we're not a one-stop shop for, everybody and everything. We want to be able to create programs for women and for women's specific issues. We don't use the same procedures to an extent that a regular med spa would do. They offer procedures for men and women, and some of them are the same. Yes, but we want to create packages for women, like we have things like a Better Booty package. We have a core to floor package that focuses on the core, sexual wellness package. And those packages contain different things. They contain supplements, they contain peptides, hormone therapy. So it's not just one treatment. It's again, getting back to the functional or the root of the problem, that you address it from different angles.
So is it a whole treatment plan that you would create for them based off of their particular needs, or is it more of a one-stop solution? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, no, it's definitely customized based on blood work, but we'll have basically three ways to get involved with us. I mean, one is strictly a la carte procedures. If someone wants to come in for microneedling on the face, of course they can. Number two would be through just individual packages. You may get something on Valentine's for, a better sex package that includes those. And then number three would be a membership that's different: gold, silver, platinum, that you get all different types of treatments, depending upon the package. So you do a monthly, and which is pretty common in the med spa industry to have those type of memberships anyways, but these will be specific for women's health.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And now, as far as the educational factor on this, bringing them up to speed from an educational factor, how do you see implementing the education into it in order for them to understand your philosophy?
Okay, good question. I think one of the grassroots things that we're excited to do is to do our signature socials, our educational socials, where we have people are always looking for things to do during the week, but like a 4 to 6, 4 to 7, 5 to 7 type of happy hour situation where people come into the clinic, they can have a glass of wine and they can listen to a very short presentation, either by our staff, our medical director, and I see us bringing in experts via Zoom on the screen from all over the world to address different issues. It could be facial, it could be sexual, it could be hormonal, and it won't be long. It'll be something that's short, that'll be, provide information. And then, by the way, it gives them a chance to see what we do, see our clinics. And that's the basically the grassroots. But we will also have the medical director will be telling, providing not strictly coursework, but will be group sessions on different elements that they can come in and discuss too.
That's great.
To go over things.
That's great. Now, as far as staffing and people that are working, obviously you're a man, you're the owner here. How do you see that kind of perception as being a man, but wanting to have this women type service catering to them? And as far as your staffing is concerned, how do you address those staffing challenges in that manner?
Well, I'm going to be in the background. Obviously, it's a for women by women model, so our staff is going to be front and center there, and our medical director. So
mostly women, I assume.
I'm sorry.
Mostly women, I would assume. And
yes.
Would that? Yes. Okay.
All women.
Right.
So, and most of our board of directors and advisors are all women as well. So I'm strictly on the business side, and they are the ones that are going to be reviewing protocol and doing the teaching and implementing the procedures. But in terms of the staff, what I see a lot is you get a lot of people, particularly skilled nurse practitioners and physicians assistants, tend to move around a lot. And part of our model is going to be to give people equity in the particular clinic. They have, it'll be earned equity over time. It's a successful model. At Home Depot has done it. Public supermarkets have done it effectively. And it gives people skin in the game. It gives people the drive to do a better job, maybe stay a little later if it's 5:30, because it's part of your clinic as well. And the more the clinic makes, the more you'll make too. And so, and it gives you that loyalty to the company, hopefully. I mean, if someone wants to leave, obviously they're going to leave, but there's, we're going to try to create an environment in every clinic that we have that's conducive and supportive of our staff, both financially and in terms of work environment as well.
Sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. Do you know if there are any other med spas that are kind of covering this concept that you're talking about? Do you have any competition in this space?
There are a couple. As I said, most of what I've seen is really OBGYNs that have converted over to a functional medical approach. Almost all of those that I know are not doing the aesthetics component. Because again, we're based on that 3-pillar foundation of sexual health and wellness, the age management or anti-aging, and the aesthetics. So we have those three kind of pillars of wellness. And yes, there's a company in New York that has 2 clinics that focuses strictly on the sexual health aspect of it. It's been very, very successful. They have one clinic in New York and one in Philadelphia. But as far as establishing a national brand, no.
Mm-hmm.
I
So
need
that,
to.
yeah. And that kind of goes back to being a capital investor yourself. So how do you see your background as a capital investor and bringing capital to this to make this concept a reality and to kind of move it forward?
Yeah, I think that young companies now, especially in the United States, it's very, very, very challenging to raise capital. Even traditional groups like VCs and angel groups, most of them look for revenue generating companies, and so it's always a tough haul. So one of the speed bumps that I've seen a lot of, particularly in this, is starting from scratch model, so to speak. When you have to go in, rent a space, do leasehold improvements, get your permits to do all that, and you're 6 months, 8 months down the road before you even open the door, it's like a black hole of money that keeps everything's going out,
Right.
nothing's coming in. And investors don't like that. They want to put the money in and see how fast you can get from point zero to cash flow.
Get that
So
ROI.
we're going to look to make an acquisition of a clinic that's it can be very different from our model in the wellness space, but that has some cash flow, and then we'll look to convert it over a 3 to 6 month period into strictly our model. But we want something that's cash flowing, that's partitioned, and waiting room, offices, exam rooms, that we don't have to be breaking down walls, getting permits, etc. And so we're out of the gates pretty quickly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you're not reinventing the wheel from scratch. Just curious though, if you acquire one of these spas and they have let's say half of it is men are clients already, then what? How do you transition them in that manner?
Well, we'll obviously the name and the brand will change, and we'll start weaning that down over time. We'll set a date in the future that we will no longer be seeing patients. We won't cut them off tomorrow,
Sure.
but we'll set a date. We're going to do the transition, and within that date, it will obviously be a few months down the road. Our marketing campaign is going to kick in to really target women and start doing our model, not a mixed model.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Do you have any acquisitions and targets in mind right now? And what's the time frame on that?
Oh, that's a good question. Yes, I do. But of course, those come and go. So acquisitions come up and then they disappear. So right now, I'm interviewing another medical director, and once the medical director is secured, our complete capital stack of our investment materials will have to be adjusted, and then we'll be simultaneously going to the investment community and looking at acquisitions at the same time in parallel. So my aggressive outlook is I'm hopeful that we can pull all that together before the first of the year, which is aggressive, but it's doable.
And how many acquisitions are you looking to acquire?
One to start, and once
Okay.
that's cash flowing, we'll go into the second.
Ramp up. Yeah, that makes sense. You talked about before exceptional medicine must be paired with exceptional marketing. So how do you bridge this into marketing that's actually going to drive the point home of what your concept is? How do you see that going?
Well, I think it's a lot of I see failures at the marketing standpoint with a lot of, we talked about these, and not to discredit them in that regard, but they're physicians and that's not their area of expertise. So I've seen our model or close to our model in OBGYNs where there's no marketing at all, because it's not what they do. They practice the medicine, and it's just whoever, word of mouth, whatever comes in. And so I think lead generation and marketing is so super critical to any business. And as we talked about earlier off air, this concept of exceptional marketing and mediocre medicine outperforming exceptional medicine and mediocre marketing. It shows the extreme power of marketing. And we all know that in business, that marketing is such a key driver of the business. But that's the driver of the leads. But the exceptional medicine is the retention factor, right? Because if you don't do a good job with your patients, they're going to leave. So obviously, in today's world, social media is absolutely critical. So we will have a marketing director that directs our social media campaigns, our social seminars that I mentioned for word of mouth. I think particularly for women, word of mouth is extraordinarily important. So the more clients retain, then the better word of mouth spread that we get. But we'll do some traditional marketing and lead generations through marketing companies that do that, for a living. And they identify our target market for given procedures, which you have early 20-year-olds doing maintenance on their face. So they're doing aesthetic treatments even as young as, as 20 years old. So those campaigns need to be targeted, whether we're targeting for aesthetics or for sexual wellness, to specific demographics.
Yeah, and I think you've got a great niche too, so you can really use that in your SEO and your marketing strategies as well to capture the local market there for sure. And yeah, I know we talked about the off air marketing is so crucial in business, but to your point, you have to have a balance, right? You have to have a balanced marketing strategy with the client retention. And be able to do that effectively is what's really going to accelerate a business and scale. So that's really important. One of the things that I found in talking to other med spa owners, a big pattern that I'm seeing is that they have a marketing strategy to generate leads through social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, SEO, and inquiries. But the challenge they run into is because they are not marketing people or salespeople for that matter, following up with those leads instantly and nurturing them to the point where they actually close as a paying client is a big challenge. How do you see that, and what's your take on that?
Yeah, it's a very good point. And I was listening to a marketing company who was very, very good. The guy that spoke was exceptional, and he in the med spa industry, and he was talking about how people run a marketing campaign and they evaluate. They'll run the campaign and look at how many customers they gained, a lead generation, say after the campaign, and they'll kind of see that that curve where it starts high and dies off, and then they evaluate that. But the important thing that he was bringing up, which is a very, very important point, is some of these procedures, if someone's going to spend $2,500, $3,000 on 3 aesthetic treatments, sometimes they're not going to make the decision sometimes within a month. They're going to do their research, or they're going to go back, or maybe the timing's not right. So the leads you generate through that, you've got to your point, you've got to cultivate those. Those are leads that you've got to put in your newsletter. You've got to put in your social seminar schedule. You've got to cultivate them. They may be a customer 6 months, 9 months, a year down the road. So you can't give up on it because they didn't buy in the first 2 months. So I think that's a very, very important, and also in following that up. So if they do come in 6 or 9 months later, where the lead was generated. Like, where did you hear about us, or how did you hear about us? Oh, we heard about you 9 months ago, but we've been getting your newsletter and we decided to come in. Because you're talking about health, so you got to build some credibility a lot of times with people if they're going to do a procedure. I know when I've done certain things, you want to follow the clinic and see who's there, and do a little bit of due diligence on them.
Yeah, absolutely. People with access to all the information they have today, they're always doing homework. They're doing their due diligence before they make decisions, especially on high ticket services like the ones you're going to be providing. And as an owner, to be able to put all that ad spend on the front end, just to see those leads drop off and not convert, is a real problem. And be able to nurture them. I like to use the word polite persistence to kind of stay on the radar, nurture them over time. Just stay on the radar with them, because just because they don't buy today doesn't mean that 6 months from now they're going to say, hey, I need to relook at this again. And so there's automated systems combined with human blended systems that work really well in addressing those solutions, which is what my company provides. So thank you for acknowledging that, because I think that's really important. So let's talk about your scaling your future. Once you have your first acquisition, what's your roadmap for expansion after that? What are you looking to do? Are you looking to franchise this? Are you looking to go or licensing, or how do you see that happening and scaling?
So we'd like to have 3 wholly owned clinics and in the South Florida area. Demographically, we've looked. The research we've done shows that the vast majority of people you're going to pull are from, like a 20-mile, 25-mile radius, unless they're going to be doing, something more semi-invasive procedure, then they'll come a little farther. But for the most part, you're pulling in that. So where we are, you could certainly do a Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach, Jupiter. There's so many opportunities. Naples, Orlando. There's so many opportunities. So we want to keep it fairly concentrated because this is where we live, and we need boots on the ground in the infancy of the company. It's hard to be an absentee owner having a clinic in Podunk, Idaho, and you have to manage it by Zoom and everything else. So we want to maintain pretty tight strains on the first 3 clinics that we have, and once we have that, we'd like to. We'll probably begin it after the second one is up and cash flowing, but we'll roll out a licensing campaign to go regional and then national.
Interesting.
And the licensing versus just strict franchising is more of licensing the brand and the model, but allowing more flexibility. Licensing franchising can be extraordinarily rigid, and for good reason. For good reason, there's distinct advantages to being rigid, but for wellness, there's going to be a little bit of variance depending upon the area of the country, the city,
Sure.
the demographic there. So there's got to be some flexibility. So we want to be able to provide, an educational component for the physicians, consumables, discounts on all the consumables, even the equipment, and mostly the training, the brand, obviously, and some of the marketing as well.
Well, you're certainly down there in a great location, the region of the country. I know Florida must be a gold mine for people looking for your services, for sure. So that's a great place to start doing this. I'm just, I know on a previous call we talked about medical real estate. You mentioned this idea. How does that play into your long-term vision of this?
Yeah, so the long-term vision is really to get to a point where we have at least 7, and hopefully, the overall model is to build out 30 to 50 branded clinics nationally. But from a consolidation standpoint, I really see call it an exit for the shareholder being if we have private equity get involved, when we have somewhere between, I say 5 to 7 operations that are all cash flowing, not ours, three under roof and the rest licensees, and them coming in and saying, we love the model. Here's further capital to build it out to 50, or we're going to take it under our roof and exit. So hopefully it would be one that we would get further capital in a Series B or C and build out 30 to 50 branded clinics around the U.S. But I went down a different road, but toward that end, real estate provides a great asset on the balance sheet that is really favorable in terms of consolidations like that. Also, if you purchase medical real estate, it gives you the opportunity to provide a turnkey. So you're a physician and you want to get into functional medicine, wellness, but you're reticent because you're not great at marketing it. It's new. You're leaving behind a fairly successful practice where you're making good money. You've got your patients, so there's a lot of trepidation. So if we can say, look, we've done the demographics. We're on this corner of Mayberry Street here, and this is the clinic. It's ready to go. We provide the marketing, the branding, and the education. All you have to do is come in, make your investment, turn the key, get your staff together, and you're ready to go. And then we do a lease back where they're paying us, they're a tenant in the building, and then
Sure.
we provide a medical complex for other supporting medical practices. So it helps the balance sheet.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. And you're creating tremendous opportunities for people too. And especially for practitioners that may want to get out of traditional medicine. This is a great kind of jump off for them as well, which is really nice. So is there anything else that you want to tell viewers that might be, watching this podcast right now that are in the industry, thinking about going into it, or maybe have been in it for a while, that might be insightful? Anything else you'd like to share before we wrap it up?
The only thing I wanted to add is I think whether it's on the male side or the female side, I think the educational component in many aspects has been overlooked or minimized, and I think it should play a larger role in wellness, because people get procedures and they get, especially with regard to hormone therapy, there's so many misconceptions there, and on the male and the female side. I get guys all the time that come up to me and say, should I be taking testosterone? I heard it causes cancer. I said, who'd you hear that from? Well, I don't know. I heard it somewhere. So women, the same thing. And they're scared. I don't want to start something that I have to do the rest of my life. I hear that one a lot. Or the other one, as I mentioned before, my physician told me I'm good for my, everything is good.
Right.
So that education component will flush that out in terms of, yes, you're good. You're good for a 60-year-old, but is that where you want to be? I think the thing that resonated with me, I don't know if you've read any of Suzanne Summers' books, but she was one of the pioneers in wellness and functional medicine before anyone even heard of it.
Yes.
Brought a lot of awareness to it. And one of the things one of the doctors said that always stuck in my mind, he said, and I've equated it to kind of like the salmon that goes upstream to spawn and then dies. But like any animal in the animal kingdom, we reach, our bodies are on a track to sustain the species, to reproduce. So we go through this process called puberty, where we're hormonally and maturity ready to reproduce, and then we start a long, slow decline of our hormones until death. And what happens during that decline? We get diseases, we get fatigue, we get hair loss, we get weight gain, all those things that happen as a result of more or less most of the result of our hormonal decline. And that was so impactful when he described it that way, that this is our peak. And of course, females are a lot younger. They reproduce a reproductive peak in the mid-20s, and men later, but then we all start this decline. So the question is, well, how do we prolong that decline? We can't eliminate it totally, but in the age management, we can slow it down, right? We can slow it down. Right. We can prevent rapid decline. And beyond that, don't we want to enjoy life to the fullest until death? Right? There's an old saying in the industry, I want to die young at a ripe old age. So yeah, you want to be able to be active, you want to be able to have mental clarity, you want to have great sex, have energy, all those things as you age. Because just because you're 70 or 80 or 90, It doesn't mean that, you have to sit on the couch and have no energy and have no quality of life. So that's what functional medicine is to me. And I think I'd love to have everyone enjoy that and be educated to what can be, right?
That's really well said, Ernest. I think most people would agree with you that they want to be, even no matter what their age is, they want to live like they're younger, and they don't want to go on that natural escalation and decline. So what you're doing here has got a very impactful to people. It's very noble what you're doing. And I do wish you all the best with this venture that you're taking on. I hope to see your brand all over the country.
Well,
And hopefully we can help you to do that as well. But it was a pleasure talking to you, taking the time to kind of share your story, your journey, and all the best to you, and wish you very, very much the best. So
well, thank you, Brian. It was nice chatting with you, and all great questions. And it was a great forum to be able to discuss wellness and health and functional medicine.
Sounds good. All right, Ernest. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brian.
Take care. Bye-bye.